I'm Deanna.
I'm Amanda, and we are the Maladroit Mamas.
Life for us is momming, home educating, and quarantining our kids' stuffed animals when they come home with a case of head lice, and that is both a blessing and a curse.
And we want you to embrace the blurst life.
So, do you find that you need to keep up with, especially as the kids get older? Because I always felt that as my daughter got older, I needed to read all of the stuff that she read, and it was really hard. Even if I'd already read it, like stuff that I had read in high school or beyond, I felt like I had to reread it. Do you feel that way?
I do.
Okay, so do you do it?
So I try.
Oh, wow.
I try.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, so I do try to read a lot of the novels that the kids do. I do audiobooks, though, because it's easier for me, because I don't have to give up my puzzle time. I can sit and do my puzzles and listen to an audiobook at the same time, or, cook dinner, wash dishes, garden, whatever. I can do stuff and drive and listen to audiobooks. So that makes audiobooks make it much easier.
That's true.
There's no way I could sit and read. Solomon has to read a book
I was just going to say,
year.
in Challenge 1, they have to read a book a week, and they're not little books. They're hefty books.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and so his first book, I had to get on the wait list, and I pay. So I have an account with my local library in West Virginia, but then I pay for an out of county account in Maryland, because first of all, it's only $18 a year, and second of all, it gives me two different reservoirs of sources.
Right.
And so if one library doesn't have it, then I can probably find it at the other one or whatever. And so I put a request in for the first book that Solomon had to read so that I could listen to the audiobook, and I still haven't been able to access it yet. And that was a month ago. And so I'm probably just not going to read that book at all, at least not now. But I did pay for a 1-year subscription of eNotes.
Right.
It's an app, which is like Cliff Notes. And that way, even if Solomon isn't able to read the book, or because they're not writing a paper on every book, they're only writing a handful of papers in that subject this year, but they're still reading a ton of books. But I got that so he would still be able to participate in class discussion. Mm-hmm. Which back when I was in high school, Cliff Notes was cheating.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me to get past that. But he's not reading them for a grade or to, the ones that he has to write papers on, he is going to read those books. But just for class conversation and participation, he's just gonna.
Well, I found that eNotes is similar to what used to be Spark Notes. I forget what it's called. Lit Charts now, if you're interested. The app is now called Lit Charts, and eNotes is similar. And I think Lit Charts we looked at both of them, and I think Lit Charts is a little more expensive, which is why you went with eNotes. I can't remember the day we had the discussion and we were comparing, but they're very similar. But I think that eNotes had more of a selection, and it was a little more geared
user-friendly.
It was user-friendly, but it was a little more geared towards the student than the adult. I think those were the differences. But I also think that both of them are meaty enough in what they and the information that they give, that it's almost like reading the book, because they do give a lot of information.
Oh, that's true. Like character analysis.
Yeah,
and things
the
that,
character analysis and
all
the summary
that,
and all of that stuff. I think that if you can't get your hands on the book and you can't read it for whatever reason, and it's just for a discussion. I do think that something like that, it's not cheating. Because I think that the information there is meaty enough.
Yeah, and he doesn't get graded. Like
No,
Cece doesn't grade him. I grade him.
Right.
I'm
And
the teacher,
it's
so
up to you
really it's up to me.
decide.
And all he's doing is coming to class prepared to have conversations about the different subjects.
Right.
And for the exposition subject, he just needs to be able to hold his own in a conversation about the story.
Right.
So, but anyway, so I love reading anyway, and since I don't have the freedom and flexibility to sit down and read a book quietly by myself without someone pulling on me or demanding something from me, I do love to listen to the audiobooks, and I still enjoy listening to it. So it's not like I don't feel like I'm burdening myself by listening to the audiobooks.
Right. Right.
But yeah, this year, since Solomon's starting high school, I do have to start maintaining a transcript. And that idea is really intimidating to me, but I'll have to get back to you guys on this because I don't know yet. I'll let you know how it goes. But I feel like I've seen different transcript forms out there, and some of them are just basic Excel sheets that are just like, the grade and the credit amount, and like that's it.
Right.
And it's not like there's nothing.
Right.
It's not really that much information.
Right. Well, it depends on what your state requires and
That
what
is
your
true,
state considers a credit to be. I know, like in Pennsylvania, a credit is considered. Well, it just depends, but so like a math credit is considered. A full credit is considered like 2/3 of a textbook, or like if you go to a class, like if you've gone 3/4 of the classes or something like that. Like there's a number. There are numbers attached to that. And,
so it's very important.
Yeah, it's very important
to check your state requirements.
State, yeah. State requirements if you don't live in Florida or Texas. Because
those are the only.
None.
Yeah, they're the only states that
Texas and
have like
Florida.
no oversight at all. I think.
So
I don't know if I really answered the question.
No, I think you did. Like, I mean, keep up with. I mean, reading I think is the biggest thing. I never really felt the need necessarily to keep up with math, because it's easy enough to, if they have a question about it, it's easy enough to just read the lesson that they're in, or to look it up online or whatever.
I love teaching math. I think it's really fun. It's like solving puzzles, but that's where my love for it ends. I hate grading math, which is why last year I ended up halfway through the year, which I don't recommend. Don't switch math curriculums. Don't do that.
Halfway through.
Don't do that. It can get, it's kind of risky to keep changing math curriculums. But I switched Solomon and Naomi halfway through the year to teaching textbooks so that I did not have to, because I was teaching 4 different levels of math all at the same time, and I just was feeling really overwhelmed, and so I switched the 2 of them to online math so that kept track of grades and everything for me, so that I could just print it out and take it to my review and say, here are their math scores, because I don't like grading math.
Yeah. It can be overwhelming, especially because you were doing Saxon.
Yes, Saxon's,
so many.
And maybe when we talk
problems
about curriculum, because we'll end up going off on tangents about this. So maybe when we cover curriculum, maybe we can talk about, some ways to help cope with math.
Coping with, that could be its own discussion in and of itself, because math seems to be like one of those subjects that just is polarizing in the community. But yeah, reading I think was probably always the biggest thing, just to keep up with the reading. Everything else, you just sort of follow along.
And I did, since a lot of the books are middle grade readers, I also tried to use the books that Solomon was assigned. I tried to use those as read alouds with all of my kids. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't.
Yeah.
It just depended on the book, it depended on the kids and their moods.
Yeah, I can see how some books would have worked and some probably didn't. Yeah.
What do you do when you're having a really bad day, or if you're kid is having a really bad day?
Well, it depends on what type of bad day. If it's a bad day, well, if it's a bad day because of his attitude, then I might make him push through if I'm irritated with him. But if it's a bad day because, like, you know, something happened, you know, like there's a family issue, or just because we're both feeling grumpy or grouchy, or it's just, you know, sometimes you just don't feel like doing something. We just won't do school. And, you know, we'll just,
and again, depending on your state requirements, that also could be a little challenging, like deciding to not do school for the day, just because some states require that you track your number of school days.
Right. Well, we are required to track days, but I can always, like, they don't have to be a certain, like
instruction time.
Right. They don't have to. You can track hours or days in Pennsylvania, but it can be from August 1st, or no, July 1st to June 30th of the following year at any point. So,
so
I can count. I have a full 365 days, and I can count, like, camp. I can count. Obviously, he didn't go to camp this year. Nobody did. You could just count, like, pretty much anything. And I used
count
to do
play
that.
dates sometimes. I'm like, socialization done. School day is done for the day.
School
is done today.
You can count all kinds of...
Watching documentaries on the Discovery Channel. Shark Week, guys. Shark Week.
You can count all kinds of things. And, you know, we'll just do the very bare minimum. I'll say, okay.
Math and reading.
Do your math and read one chapter in your whatever, you know, like your required reading book. Because I usually have something is required to read, something that I, you know, kind of like independent reading. And so I'll say, okay, like read like one chapter in required reading, and then you're done for the day. What do you do because you've got 5, so
I have a lot of bad days.
Yeah, so
fortunately in West Virginia, I'm not required to keep track of days. Now that doesn't mean that we skimp on school.
Right.
Sometimes days can just be like a school day. The amount of work you have to do is really intense, and you're like, you know what? That was probably 2 days worth of schoolwork right there. So we're just gonna do 4 days or whatever this week. Yeah. I try to at least get math and reading done, but I actually pay my older kids $1 to do math with Ezra. I'm like, I'll give you $1 if you go do math with your brother, and they do. They want that $1.
Yeah.
So yes, I pay my older children to.
But they're learning a skill too.
It's good for them too. Yes.
Yeah.
It benefits both of them.
Exactly.
Both Ezra and the older siblings.
I would think so. I mean, I think that's ingenious. Give them that opportunity. You're giving them an opportunity.
Look at that. I love how you're painting this as an opportunity.
It's an opportunity for them. All right. I think we're